maybe maybe we'll do some questions. Yes.
Thanks for coming, Congressman. Just for the people, out of the benefit of people who might not know what E-Verify is, it's a program that ensures businesses only hire legal workers. If mandatory E-Verify legislation passes, it could get more Americans back to work than any other bill being discussed in Congress right now. Up to 7 million jobs could open up for American workers and illegal immigrants. Now, I know you campaigned as a true reformer, and you said you would support E-Verify, but right now, my question is to you, why have you not supported HR 2885, which is E-Verify, which would bring jobs, back, and people could not apply for a job because they would have to be verified? I know we have in some forms of government, but private employers do not have it, and I don't know about the state doesn't have it. I think it's just the federal government, if I'm right on that. But if people can't get jobs, they're gonna have to go backpacking somewhere. And my question to you is, why have you not supported this? This is something that this country needs.
Well, there are lots of bills that come before Congress, and they have more in them than just a particular issue. So if you're asking about why I haven't supported it, it hasn't been in a place where I could vote for it or against it. It has not come up yet. I assume at some point in time it will. And there are some immigration bills that have moved. They've moved out of committee, but they have not moved to the floor. I would tell you that I support E-Verify. I think it's a good thing. However, this is so taken the Congress that it's all that we've been able to do is just work on this, mainly because we have sent bill after bill after bill to the Senate dealing with jobs and the economy and so forth, and they just lay there. They're sitting there. Nothing has been done about them. The only time we've ever gotten them to act is when we come to one of these deadlines that we have. Government's going to shut down or something like that, or some other program's going to end. And then they've been willing to at least get together and negotiate, but that's about it. This is the issue at hand, I believe. There are other issues, and that certainly is one of them, and I believe it's important. However, it has barely moved. It's just the process is slow, and I think these other bills have taken up all the time.
Well, I know John Boehner doesn't want it to come up for a vote, but the thing is, there's co-sponsors. I think there's like 70 co-sponsors, and you should be one of them. And you say you support it, but I mean, you say you support it, but why don't you just co-sponsor it?
Well, I'm probably the toughest co-sponsor in the Congress. When I was in the legislature for 28 years, I probably on both hands, maybe 10 bills I co-sponsored. Because I saw how they can change, they can become different, and you're attached to something that you really didn't want to. So I don't co-sponsor a whole lot of bills. It doesn't mean I don't support them, and it doesn't mean I don't help with them. But I just, there's very few bills that I co-sponsor.
If it comes to the floor for a vote, will you vote for it?
I will vote for it, in its form, but sometimes what happens is they attach all these other things that aren't very good to it, and those are the times you have to think about, okay, I like this, I despise this, what do I do? And there's a disconnect.
Now, is that yellow button, is that considered a fail to act button?
Well, it says present, you voted present, so it means you're there, but you didn't want to make a decision. I'm not going to use that button. Anyone else? Yes.
First of all, welcome to Founders Creek. We're proud of our community and happy to have you here. My comments on cutting the spending is, and like your view on it, is that we tend to have a society now that has a sense of entitlement, and where it makes sense to have these type of cuts. Do you not experience, I guess, where as soon as the cuts affect a certain group, all of a sudden they don't agree with it any longer? So when we have to cut the spending, how do you do that and still manage the support to be able to get enough members elected to be able to make these things happen.
Well, first of all, know this, just like I said, this does not make the cuts. It only sets limits. It's a skeleton of how the necessary, how we would have necessary changes to get on this slope. But the actual appropriating is done by the Appropriations Committee. Also understand, though, that 2/3, that's only 1/3 of the budget is done by the Appropriation Committee. The rest of it is Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, VA benefits, SNAPs, which is the old food stamps, other things like that. Those are automatic in that the Congress doesn't meet in order to add an extra person. So the 10,000 people signing up for Social Security every day that are baby boomers like myself, we don't have to meet and increase the number of people allowed to be on Social Security. It's automatic. So that's 2/3 of the amount of money spent, and that's done automatically. So there's this 1/3, and that's what the appropriators work on. So when we get an appropriation bill, it's only going to be for that 1/3 of government. About half of it is defense, and the other half is the general government, Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, so forth. Those particular issues are funded there. The rest of it is Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, like I said. Of this, just know, and I know what you're saying, it's tough to make those cuts. It is. So, and there are people who resist those, and it's an easy one-liner to go out and say, hey, don't cut this. Well, all I want to tell you is that debt cock you saw is borrowed money. And we're borrowing it at almost a little over $4 billion a day. Every day we pull out a credit card, borrow $4 billion a day. A lot of it comes from China. So I want to tell you a story. This is Hunters Creek. Later we're going to go to Belle Isle. Yesterday we're in College Park. So Orlando has these little smaller areas and they have names. Well, here a couple of months ago, I had determined when I first got elected that because we were talking about rolling back expenditures, I was going to roll back my salary till 2008. Found out that I couldn't get the payroll people to do that because there's a provision that says every member has to be paid the same amount, so you can't get them to deduct it. So I wrote out a check to the Department of Treasury, called them up, wanted to go over and give them the extra money to pay down part of the debt. So it's not in the nice building that's right across from the White House, not the Treasury Department. It's in another part of town. That's the Bureau of Public Debt, and they have a separate office. So I took it over there, and they took a while, had to go through a lot of red tape, but they finally let me come in and said nobody had ever done this before. So I went in and I gave them the money, and they took it and got a little picture of that happening. But the point of the story is this. Guess where the Office of Public Debt, what community that's in Washington? Chinatown. That's exactly right. And it's just ironic because a lot of that debt that's rolling up is coming from them. So the problem is you can say, wow, this is a good program, and they are. I'm not arguing with that. And the appropriators try to go through with a very acute eye and look at every single program. But in the end, all the money, the 40 cents on every dollar that we spend extra is borrowed. And China is our competitor, at least. They may be a little more than that, but they're for sure our competitor. And they're stealing jobs from us. And they have a different political system than we have. And they clamp down on freedoms. And they don't believe in the freedoms that we have in this country. And one day, they may want to collect. And so that to me is overriding some of these thoughts that, wow, this is a good program. Yes, but where's the money coming from? Now, having said that, this is a long